So we got only one more story today, but it's a big story. And so, as I made mention yesterday, there was the world premiere of a film that happened in Rome. And I'm talking about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And with everything that's going on right now, so as before I get in, Sean Penn had redemption as well. Majors will have his redemption. Not yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly, Dad. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So, um, there was a little film that debuted yesterday in Rome for the world premiere, and it was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. And so that being said, I mean, Tom Cruise made a pretty impassioned speech about while he's trying to help the theaters, and he'll always fight for the theaters and everything else. So the first reactions just came out for this film, and boy, does it look good. So here is the piece from the wrap, and I'm just going to read you a couple of tweets after, and this is what it says. So the piece says, Dead Reckoning Part 1, first reactions, hail the Tom Cruise sequel, quote, production values through the roof. Tom Cruise's latest daring adventure as Ethan Hunt has been met with an initial dulge of online praise from viewers following its premiere in Rome. From director, co-writer, and producer Christopher McQuarrie, Dead Reckoning Part 1 stars Rebecca Ferguson, Simon Pegg, Haley Atwell, Vanessa Kirby, Henry Zarrett, Palm Kelmanoff, Eli Morales, and more alongside Cruise. The first installment of the two-part film clocked in at 2 hours and 45 minutes. A yellow Fiat featured in the film made an appearance at the premiere, so what's the initial word? A little surprised, the first reactions have been generally positive, with marks going to the production value, the use of artificial intelligence as the villain, and the big train sequence. So Kate Arbor argues that the action thriller, quote, does the best job yet of recent part 1 of 2, end quote, features in a feeling in its own film wrapped up in the next half. So Barry Hertz amusingly notes Tom Cruise hates streaming so much he's made an algorithm out of the villain, which is pretty funny because, of course, Top Gun Maverick, he didn't want to put that on Paramount Plus. So I'm going to read you a couple of these. Reactions. So here's one of the actions. So this comes by German Lersiser. So Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is fantastic. Dynamite, timely story, excellent new characters, huge variety of action, and final set piece that ranks in top 2 or 3 of all time for the franchise. It gets a little dense at times, but the pace and intensity more than covers that. Okay. Joseph Dexmer. Okay. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning steals is phenomenal. Haley Atwell steals every scene she's in. This is now my favorite Mission Impossible film, with the AI being the villain. This feels like a cautionary tale. The action is my heart rate elevated. The train scene is mind-blowing. Mike Ryan says that Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 works as Christopher McQuarrie's most ambitious examination yet of meditation on AI. I'm trying to find some of these I'm just trying to find some of the bear with me, guys. I'm finding where these guys are actually who they're actually part of. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 works as Christopher McQuarrie's ambitious examination and meditation on AI and the dangerous path we might be on. He doesn't like it. With the inherent nature of Part 1, says a lot that's That's a lot, not as satisfying as Fallout. So um, let's go down here to Barry Hertz. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Tom Cruise hates streaming so much he's made an algorithm out of the villain. And bless his crazy ass, because this is the behemoth-sized spectacle. One go for broke piece after the next. Close to Fallout excellence, Henry Zarek fans will go nuts. Of course, he played Kittredge 25 years ago in the first Mission Impossible. Kate Erbland says, after the insanity of the last few films, Mission Impossible 7 has a tremendous amount to live up to. But one thing I'll say in quick reaction format, it does the best job of recent part 1 of 2. It features and feeling of its own film while setting up the next half. Scott Mendelson is about the only one, and I go follow him on Twitter, guys. He's been on the show. He's a nice guy. He's about the only one that didn't care for it. He said Mission Impossible 7 was a big letdown. Wonky dialogue, oddly broad acting, and narrative shortcuts that, being generous, seemed like COVID-related issues felt, quote, off in a way like to Saw 3D or Saw 6. For the sake of the industry, I hope I'm in the minority. So overall, this is looking like it's going to be huge. I know I keep saying it. I think it's going to be the biggest movie of the summer. And no, I'm not being paid by Paramount to say that. I'm doing the Mission Impossible rewatch, guys, and as I'm in more and more of these films, you start to see this. There are a couple of things going for it, and the stunts get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So stay tuned for Friday, where I will be reviewing and talking all about Ghost Protocol. That is the next film up in the lineup. This looks out of sight. And if it's anything like some of these reviews are saying, look out. Look out. Because that's the thing about Cruise. He loves to do things practically. And it doesn't, I mean, this train sequence is all you got to say, right? I mean, they are actually, so that this is that clip down there in one of the trailers where they're fighting on the train, and then he just hits the ground. And mind you, guys, if you remember, for all those Mission Impossible aficionados, okay, go back to the first film, okay, in 1996. What was the ending set piece? It was on a train. They know how to connect the dots really, really well. And that's why I'm so happy that this is going to do so well. The fact that he's doing it practically is insane to begin with, anyways. And yeah, I mean, Henry coming back, like I said, Kittredge was the first villain. They know how to connect the dots. They're even bringing back the guy, and I did a piece on this a couple months ago when it came out. They're even bringing back the guy that had his computer hacked into from the original Mission Impossible. Remember when Kittredge says, you know, I want this guy manning in a tower in Alaska by the end of the day, just shipping his clothes? That's the guy that's coming back. So that tells you how much interconnectivity they have and how much care he's putting in. And this is why I'm saying, guys, Tom Cruise is the last star we have. Yes, we have a guy like Leonardo DiCaprio, and you could name it Bradley Cooper and anybody else you want to, but he's the last guy. Liam Neeson had a hell of a career. He had a second career with Taken. When you look at that, okay, because he went on, he did things like Nonstop, The Commuter, The Gray, Run All Night, but Cruise has just been going at it straight for 40 years, the last 25 of it being with Mission Impossible. And Dad says, I love Paula Patton. Yeah. I think that, she's an amazing, amazing person. Speaking of Mission Impossible, personally, I love Mission Impossible 2, 2000. By far my favorite in the franchise. Very underrated. Fallout was amazing too. Can't wait for the new one. It's funny you say that, Antonius. That was I. So if you go back and watch my video on that, I hated that movie. Absolutely hated that movie, and I'm so glad you enjoy it. By the way, more power to you. And this is why film is so good, right, guys? Because he likes something I couldn't stand. But getting to the point of Fallout was amazing, and this is why I'm going through and doing all of these movies because of that. But yeah, no, I can't wait for this. I can't wait. And if this is as good as advertised, look out. Look out. Don't forget, guys, the first Mission Impossible was right around like an hour and 55 minutes. These have gotten bigger and bigger and long. It's kind of like John Wick in that respect. When John Wick first came out, the original John Wick, it was about an hour and 50 minutes. John Wick 4, the last John Wick, was around 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I haven't seen it, but from what I understand, it's supposed to be amazing. That's the thing. This is going to be huge. And Tom Cruise, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, like I said, he's the last action star we have. There is nobody else that can do what he does. Nobody else. And we need to take him we need to appreciate all this because 5 years from now, there's going to be no more Tom Cruise doing this stuff. He doesn't need an Academy Award to say, I'm one of the best. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the fame. He's doing this, as he said the other day, for the people. And this is why he held out. Guys, this is why he held out doing Top Gun Maverick. That's at the end of the day. They could have easily put it on streaming, but he knew what they had. He knew that they had $1 billion film on their hands. He was right. Made $1 billion last year. So, anyways, guys, what do you think about all the first reactions of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1? Do you think it's going to be as good as advertised? Or do you think it's going to be hyped up too much? Are you excited for this? Or do you think Part 2 is going to be the better of the better films? Leave me your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to everybody.